They said it was only a symbol, an eye carved into stone, painted on temple walls, worshipped for millennia. The Eye of Ra. To the ancient Egyptians, it was divine power, protection, life itself. But what if it wasn't just a sacred mark? What if it was something more? A code, a message left behind by a civilization that knew things we are only beginning to understand. In the dawn of Egyptian civilization, Ra was the sun, the first light that touched the world. They believed every sunrise was Ra's victory over darkness, and that his eye could see everything, from the stars above to the sins of men. Pharaohs carried its emblem, priests wore it on golden chains. The eye watched, guarded, judged. But buried inside myth and faith was a pattern that defied time. Some inscriptions call it the Eye of Knowledge. And under its gaze, astronomers gathered to chart the heavens long before the Greeks named the stars. In those ancient halls, the symbol wasn't just worshipped, it was studied. Thousands of years later, in 1956, a group of Egyptologists re-examining the Temple of Edfu made a startling discovery. They realized that the eye's shape wasn't random art. It was geometry. The elegant curves, the sweeping lines, even the tear-shaped spiral matched ratios in human anatomy. When one researcher traced the symbol and overlaid it on a cross-section of the human brain, it aligned perfectly with the thalamus, corpus callosum, and pineal gland. The pineal gland, the tiny, light-sensitive organ some call the third eye, the seat of the soul. The Eye of Ra, they realized, mirrored the human brain, the organ that perceives light. How could a people from 5,000 years ago map the anatomy of the brain without ever opening a skull? Did they see the body as a reflection of the cosmos? Or did they know something about consciousness that modern science is only beginning to glimpse? The symbol's precision goes even deeper. Ancient papyri show the Eye of Ra divided into parts, each labeled with a fraction: 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, 1/32. Each fragment represented a portion of the whole. Historians first thought these were trade measures for grain and honey. But when scholars added them together, they noticed something odd. The total never reached 1. It reached 0.984375, almost perfect, but always missing the final piece. That missing fraction was said to represent the unmeasurable, the divine spark no human could comprehend. The eye, therefore, wasn't only art. It was an equation, an ancient reminder that knowledge could take us close to truth, but never fully capture it. A principle identical to what quantum physics tells us today, that the act of observing changes reality itself, that there is always a part of existence that escapes the human eye. Then came a discovery that made even the skeptics pause. In 1899, the French archaeologist Étienne Lefebvre uncovered a sealed chamber beneath the temple of Kom Ombo. It wasn't like other tombs. There were no coffins, no gold, only carvings. On one wall, a circle of robed priests surrounded what looked like a glowing disc, with the Eye of Ra suspended above. Next to it, an inscription read, "Those who awaken the eye within awaken the power of the sun." The text was dismissed for decades as mystical nonsense, and the chamber was closed to the public. But a black and white photograph resurfaced years later, and when scientists looked closely, they realized the carving resembled the human optic chiasm, the point where the optic nerves cross behind our eyes. The priests, it seemed, were not praying to the sun in the sky, but to the light inside the human mind. Could the Eye of Ra have been an allegory for enlightenment, the awakening of perception, the merging of spiritual and scientific understanding? A reminder that the gods we worship may simply be reflections of the energy within ourselves? As centuries passed, the meaning of the eye changed. Dynasties fell, temples crumbled, and the desert swallowed their cities. Yet the eye survived. It appeared again in Babylonian reliefs, in Greek temples, even in early Christian mosaics. Each culture gave it a new name: the Eye of Providence, the All-Seeing Eye, the Eye of God. But the shape never changed. The geometry, the proportions, the symmetry, all the same. By the Middle Ages, it had been adopted by secret orders, etched into cathedrals. And finally, it found its way onto modern currency, watching quietly from the back of a dollar bill. Some say it symbolizes divine oversight. Others whisper that it's a sign of hidden knowledge preserved through the ages. But when you trace its geometry, the triangle, the circle, the radiating lines, it forms not only a symbol of the divine, but a map of proportion, of light, of consciousness. Ancient engineers encoded the same ratios into the Great Pyramid of Giza, aligning its structure with celestial north. The same number appears in musical harmony, in DNA coils, in spiral galaxies. The Egyptians called it Ma, at, the universal order, and the Eye of Ra was its watchful emblem. There's a theory among fringe historians that the priests of Ra were not only spiritual leaders, but scientists, keepers of knowledge from a civilization even older than Egypt itself. They used symbols, not language, to preserve truth. Because symbols survive translation, conquest, and time. Words are rewritten. Icons endure. And perhaps the eye was their way of saying, "We understood, and one day you will too." Modern neuroscience now admits the pineal gland reacts to light, producing melatonin that governs sleep, dreams, even altered states of consciousness. Some cultures call it the gateway to higher perception. When viewed through that lens, the Eye of Ra becomes both literal and metaphorical, a bridge between the light of the sun and the light of awareness. The outer eye sees the world. The inner eye understands it. So maybe the ancient Egyptians weren't just worshiping gods. Maybe they were mapping the human soul. Today, we see the eye everywhere, in architecture, art, film, and corporate design. It's become pop culture's shorthand for mystery, control, or conspiracy. But long before secret societies claimed it, before the internet turned it into an emblem of power, it stood for something purer: balance, knowledge, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness, within and without. And that brings us back to the question that has haunted archaeologists and mystics alike. Was the Eye of Ra a relic of superstition, or a message from minds who understood more about the universe and ourselves than we give them credit for? The answer may lie in that missing fraction, the piece that completes the eye. Because maybe the code isn't something carved on temple walls at all. Maybe it's within us. The awareness waiting to awaken, the inner sight that turns observation into understanding. So the next time you see that golden eye, on a pyramid, on a coin, on a screen, remember it's not looking at you. It's asking whether you can finally see.